I bet you can hear me now. Wait, can you hear me now? That fixed it. Yeah. You know, it's funny, if you don't actually turn on your audio, it doesn't work. Funny how that works out. But no, I appreciate some people being here, man. Appreciate you being here. And as you can see with the title, figured I'd give my 2 cents on the news that has come out here over the past few days, because I've been seeing some variety of takes out there. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm watching KFGD, Kind of Funny Games Daily, and Greg and Bless are on there talking about it, and nothing they said, but I'm in the chat, so I see the chat, and people were essentially saying that I've not commented on anything that has happened with the Xbox layoffs and all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, I literally was on KFGD last week talking about it for about an hour and a half. I've talked about it here on this channel. I was just on with Naomi Kyle, and we talked about it. I was on somewhere else too. In other words, the point I'm trying to make, Gamertag Radio, duh. Talked about it there. I've talked about this a lot. It freaking sucks. I think, obviously, on the first day, it was about the empathy that you want to have for the people that got laid off, because this is horrible. And in the aftermath, you obviously want to ask the question as to why this happened. And wow, seeing a bunch of people jumping in. Appreciate you being here. You want to ask the question, why? Why did this happen? Why are we continuing to see all these layoffs happen? And I am strictly talking about Xbox, nobody else right now. And it is leadership. Starts with Satya Nadella, because he's the CEO of Microsoft, and it goes all the way down to Phil Spencer, who's the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. They have to be accountable for this. They have to be responsible for this. And I get your restructure, this, that, trim the fat, all these things, streamline, for the future. But, you acquired Activision, you acquired Bethesda over the past few years. And with the promise that, not even the promise, but the hope that you're doing these big acquisitions, and people saw how shitty Activision was under Bobby Kotick, with all the sexual harassment allegations, all the things that were going on there, right? So you're thinking, well, hopefully it'll be better under Microsoft. This will protect jobs, number one. But from a game standpoint, some of the legacy IPs that were sitting on the shelf, that now maybe they can come back. Maybe you put some of those older games in the Game Pass, right? In other words, you're getting more content out there, and you're making it better for us, the consumer. You're providing more value. That was always my thinking with the Activision thing. Now, Bethesda, obviously very similar in that you were thinking, okay, well, and obviously back then we're thinking, this stuff is going to be exclusive with the Bethesda stuff. But you're thinking, wow, they're going to put all these Bethesda games in Game Pass. That's going to be great, which they ultimately did do. And when the only caveat with Activision had always been, because I remember when it first got announced, I was like, oh my God, they're going to make Call of Duty exclusive. And then you're thinking, they can't do that. Call of Duty's too big. There's no way they're going to do that, right? So it was, hey, put it in Game Pass, stuff like that. I also remember thinking that Activision had to be it. There's no more acquiring entire publishers, because we're doing too much consolidation in the industry, and that's not good for gaming, because you need the Devolver Digitals of the world, right? You want the Segas. Like, people are like, Xbox needs to go get Sega. No, I never wanted that, because I want Sega to be Sega and do the stuff that Sega does. Partnering with Sega, put some of their games in Game Pass, great. All that sounds good. But point is, I'm trying to make on this, the layoffs suck. It is absolutely terrible. Right now, as we sit here today, it's doing more harm than good, because you're putting people out of work, and you're throwing everything that Xbox does into doubt. Nobody trusts anything. I've seen all the articles, excuse me, from Windows Central and all the rest, right? I've seen the podcasts, I've seen the live streams where people are talking about it, and rightfully so. People are like, I don't know if I can trust this moving forward. I don't know if I can trust what they're telling us they're going to do, because I think Windows Central even put out the thing where they're like, hey, don't worry, everything you saw at the showcase this year is going to get released. Well, okay, you're saying this, but hell, you just showed Perfect Dark last year, and that game is now gone, right? And the studio's closed. So we're at a point with Xbox right now, due to decisions of leadership, And like I said, it starts at the top. It obviously filters down, because I think there's also some studio leadership that needs to be questioned as well. That how do you have a game like Everwild in development for so long at Rare and you can't get it to market? You never actually show us what it is. And then now it's gone, right? Obviously, with the initiative, all the issues and leadership changes they had at that studio. You partner with Crystal Dynamics, which, by the way, Crystal Dynamics, now you got to worry about them. I think they had already were starting to have some layoffs. And now that this partnership is ended, what does that mean for the team that was working on that? Are they going to get laid off? Is there another IP, another project they can work on? It's stuff like that, man. There's repercussions down the line as you start to look at this. And it's not good. It's just not good. And hopefully maybe we come out on the other side of this, looking at, again, from a consumer standpoint, that, Xbox does get their stuff together. Maybe they did need to do this. And I am not excusing any of this, because, again, you made the acquisitions, you had these projects in flux. And then when you look at the stuff that Phil had even talked about recently when he was on Xbox Era, oh yeah, I can't wait for Everwild. And then 6 months later, it's gone, right? Like I said, you showed us Perfect Dark last year, and now it's gone. This ZeniMax Online game that obviously we never got to see, you see the reports coming out, had to rip the controller out of his hands, and then now it's gone. No rhyme or why, what's the reasons behind all these things? So I think a lot of the criticisms that we've seen, a lot of the skepticism that we're seeing is 100% valid right now when it comes to Xbox. And they are going to have to do a lot of work to gain back some of the trust of the community, of their consumers, right? Which leads me into all of this that I want to talk about. And wow, it's over 100 people here now. That's crazy. But appreciate you all being here. I will admit I have not been looking at the chat yet, because I'm just kind of rambling here. But actually, before I jump into the Game Pass thing, let me actually look at some of this stuff. And what's one of them here? Tashawn, you're saying Xbox gets a raw deal, and it's a damn shame putting out more content than anybody. So much stuff is overblown and fake outrage from media. Man, they can never get a break. It's sad, because I guess you're saying because of all they do. Here's the thing. Is there some fake outrage out there? 100% there is, right? Is there some people taking advantage of this, right? Xbox bad and all the media stuff? Of course. But there is legitimate concern as well. And I think people having criticism and skepticism right now is completely valid. How could it not be? Right? How could it not be? Like I said, Perfect Dark and Everwild going away because they could not, because of these long development times. I can understand that being the thing. And not to mention, I didn't even mention this at the Microsoft level. They obviously say a lot of this. The overall 9,000 people that got laid off is, I think the Seattle Times had that, is AI, which not a fan of, by the way. I have a lot of concerns from a security standpoint with AI and the fact that what we're seeing right now, AI potentially taking away jobs, and it's happening right before our eyes. So how could you not be skeptical of this? How could some people not be outraged by this? Of course they're going to be. It's just logical that you would be. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not disagreeing that there isn't fake outrage, but I think there's some valid concern out there as well, is what I'm trying to say. And okay. Like I said, I've been ignoring the chat, so I'm just kind of going back through. And Web Dave, appreciate you being here, man. Let's see. If Microsoft is pulling these games and firing employees to put more money into AI that is so disrespectful to everyone who's invested and stayed in Xbox for years, I 100% agree. 100% agree. And that's what a lot of people are gravitating to that are concerned by this. Is Microsoft's overall push to AI hurting the Xbox division as a result? I think that's a valid question. I think you have to ask that question, right? Because when Phil Spencer is on Xbox Era 6 months ago, excited about Everwild, and then now you're getting rid of Everwild, you're canceling it. Why? What changed in 6 months? You have to ask that question. And it's valid. And of course, a lot of people are going to point towards AI as a result. Now, Game Pass, because I'm seeing this one a lot over the weekend. I guess it was the I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but one of the founders of Arcane, basically said Game Pass is bad for the industry. Excuse me. We've seen a few other people speak out about this. Game Pass is bad for the industry. I have long said Game Pass is the best value in gaming. And I've always said that from a consumer standpoint, because I think it brings value to the money that you're putting into the subscription, right? With the content that you're getting, especially now over the past couple of years, are really starting to think it is a great value, 100%. Is it hurting the industry? I know Sean Layden's had comments about it, right? We've heard from different people various things. You hear some developers say it's great. You hear some say it's bad. Like Greg was on KFGD talking about this, and he kind of made that point that depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different answer every time. I think, was it Chris String? I believe it was Chris String. I saw something online where I guess he did reach out for a comment about is Game Pass profitable? And it sounds like from a third party standpoint, yes, it is. They're not including first party as a part of that, if I read that correctly, and I could be misquoting it, so I don't want to dive too deep into that because I probably should have done more research before I start talking about this. But the point I'm trying to make on this is we don't know. Is it sustainable? Is it not sustainable? But the question I have about Game Pass and its long-term viability is, if Amy Hood and all the number crunchers, Tim Stewart's, all of them, if they're looking at the raw numbers and seeing what Game Pass is doing currently, and the math ain't mathing, this was their exit ramp. They should be getting out of the Game Pass business now, if that's the case, is my opinion on it. If there is not long-term sustainability for Game Pass right now, with everything that's going on in the industry, with all the layoffs that is happening, all the uncertainty is happening, the effort to push towards AI, everything that's going on, you could have exited Game Pass and nobody, sure, as a customer, I'd be bummed to see it go, but I go, hey, I guess it didn't work, and you move on. So I'm very interested in that I'm sure we'll never get a straight direct answer other than, the quotes that we've had over the years, and obviously what Chris String just got. But it seems to me, if Game Pass is not working, if it is not working, if it's truly hurting the industry, and you have this uproar from developers about it, now's the time. Get out. You should get out. But what I think instead we've seen is they're doubling down on it. Because like I said, that showcase, day one on Game Pass, play anywhere. Like, if anything, obviously Call of Duty being in it now is a thing. So this is where I say again, leadership. They're making the call on this. We are on the outside looking in, so we'll never know 100% what the books look like and what it truly is. Is this a gamble? Are they just taking a huge risk? Or is this something that internally they're like, no, this is working for what we want? I don't know, man. I really don't. Just that as a consumer, I love the service. I take advantage of it. I've gotten subs for my kids, all of that. We use it in this house 100%. But if it's going to hurt the industry as a whole, if it is going to harm developers that are outside of the Xbox ecosystem to make great games and to, have long-term success, then it shouldn't be around. That's just my opinion on it, because I think I'm a fan of games. I'm a gamer. I want to see games succeed. I don't care what platform. It could be Xbox, PlayStation. It could be the goddamn ColecoVision. Bring it back. I don't care. I just want great games to play. I want to see these studios have success and thrive. And if there is something out there that is hurting that effort, then it needs to go away. So Gamescom is coming up. There's no way they cannot start addressing these things either before Gamescom or during Gamescom, because the questions are going to be asked at this point by people of the media, obviously other creators and stuff that are going to be there at that event. Clearly Xbox is going to have stuff to show there, right? You almost get a feeling they held stuff back from this showcase to have at Gamescom. So they're going to have a big presence at Gamescom. I would assume the leadership is going to be at Gamescom because typically Phil is there every year. The question's going to be asked. So I hope there's a real answer when that comes, because at this point, we're hearing it too much. That you hear it every now and again over the years, blah, 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 blah. And like I said, you'll hear a different answer. You hear some people say, hey, it's great. It helped my game. It got exposure to it. I'm doing great. Obviously, Expedition 33, as a prime example, is in Game Pass. It's going to wind up being Game of the Year, and it doesn't seem to be hurt by the service at all. But then you hear other instances of things that potentially could be. So which one is it? And that's all I'm saying, because I don't know. I mean, it's easy to just run with it and say, yep, this is terrible, get rid of it. Or is it the opposite and it's doing good? Because you hear two different opinions on it, right? Right now, because of everything that's going on, we're hearing all the negative opinions on it, but there's been good opinions about it as well. So I don't know. I really don't know. I just would like to definitively know, because I love the service. Obviously, I've coined the phrase over the years, best value in gaming, because I do believe that. I was even talking on the stream yesterday, because we know there's probably going to be a price increase to it, that it will get to a certain point if they keep raising the price where it will no longer be a great value. In my head, I feel like the most you could probably go up to, and it still feels, like a reasonable value, is going to be $25 a month. Let's see. And I'm talking Game Pass Ultimate, obviously. So let's see if it stays at that, right? The other option that could potentially happen if with Game Pass, let's just say they don't think it's necessarily sustainable, it's cannibalizing sales of their first party stuff, all these things. Let's just say that's real. Then you got to get rid of day and date. You need to make it more of a PlayStation Plus than what it is right now with Game Pass Ultimate. Sure, you could keep some of those other perks in there, but maybe it's about making sure that your first party titles and some of the partner third party titles, right, get a chance to have sales at launch, day and date. If it is hurting the industry in that way, then they seriously need to look at it. They do. And that's what I'm saying. I would really love to hear a more definitive answer from leadership about what is going on with Xbox Game Pass and how sustainable it is in 2025. Because we know what Phil Spencer said in 2021. Let's get an update on that. But I will say again, if it wasn't viable, if internally they saw the math wasn't mathing, now would have been the time to hit the exit ramp and get out. And I don't think anybody would have blamed them, right? Just my opinion on it. And I see Demon Flow with a $5 super chat. Again, everybody sends a super chat. I truly appreciate that. It's very generous of you. I really appreciate it. Now, what Demon Flow is saying, if Game Pass is the best value in gaming, why would gamers... Hold on, it scrolled up on me. I went too fast. If Game Pass is the best value in gaming, why would gamers want it gone? As a consumer, I hope that Game Pass thrives, and I think Game Pass is causing a lot of pain. Okay, this is similar to what I've already been talking about. And a consumer should not want it to go away because, again, it brings you value. I think the point that I was making is if on the back end it's causing more harm than good, then you got to question it. If it is financially not sustainable, then you got to question it. Why are we still doing it? That would be the thing. I don't think, and again, don't pay attention to people on social media that just, want engagement farm on that stuff. I think any normal consumer would see it as a great value. And the thing that we talked about on XCast for years was Game Pass only works with great content. You got to have great games in it. If you don't have great games consistently in the service, you're not going to subscribe to it. And that, I think, is the thing that I'm seeing with it, or since the second half of 2024, we're getting that consistency now of great games in there. We know what's coming the rest of this year, and then the promise of what's going to come in 2026. Hopefully it happens, right? But if it's consistent, I'm going to stay subscribed because now I got great games consistently. And this is probably the year that a Game Pass game is going to win Game of the Year with Expedition 33. So I want it to succeed. This is me, all my bias and selfishness and all that. I want Game Pass to succeed because I like the service. But if it is hurting the industry, then it needs to go away. I mean, it's as cut and dry as that. But only Xbox can answer that question. Xbox and Microsoft as a whole. Is it working for them? And is it a net negative on the ecosystem outside of Xbox? They would be the only ones that would know. So just my 2 cents. Oh, here's Fuzzy with a great one, because I did mean to bring this up. I'm glad you're saying it. I'm literally looking at two different chats, and Demon Floor, appreciate the super chat. Yeah, Fuzzy is saying it seems like people are afraid to have that discussion on how free to play services hurt gaming. 100% it's hurt gaming. I don't think I think that goes without saying. And it's hurt live service games overall, but it's also hurt the industry as a whole, because like my kids love Fortnite. They play Fortnite. I think my oldest daughter is addicted to Overwatch right now, but the principle still applies that they play the free to play game. They have now been conditioned to go play that. And then if they really like, because I was just talking to my daughter about Overwatch the other day, and she was even saying that, free to play, she goes and plays it, and she happily will go buy the battle pass stuff for it because she enjoys playing with her friends and all that. And again, these are the 1%er type live service games. And the biggest thing about those games is time. You have to consume so much of your time into those games. Me was addicted to Destiny for a goddamn decade. And there was games that I just absolutely missed out on during the 2010s as a result, because all I would play is Destiny. And if it wasn't Destiny, I was playing The Division, right? And when you have games like this, now the other games are getting ignored. So now I'm not going to go buy them because I'm not playing them, right? So yeah, it has definitely hurt the industry. I mean, look at what, just bringing PlayStation into this for a second. Obviously, they had a plan. They were going to flood the market with a bunch of live service games. And then they quickly realized, can't do that, because if they're not really, really good, people are might play them for a minute. They're going to put them down. They're going to go play something else, right? They're going to go back to their comfort of the Fortnites or whatever, the Call of Duty Warzones or whatever the case may be. So yeah, free to play has definitely had an impact on this industry. And again, it's the top 1%ers, because you can't just make everything free to play, because not everyone's going to play every free to play game enough to invest in battle passes and do all that stuff. So this is also part of the problem. And I will add on to this, another part of the industry that's a problem are these extremely long development times now and these exploding budgets. I will go back again to what Sean Layden talked about. I believe he was saying this when he was on with Destin, and it was easier. I forget the exact quote, but essentially what he was saying, it was easier 10, 15 years ago to take a risk on a game that had a budget of 50 million than it is to now take a risk on a big AAA game where the budget's 250 or 300 million. It's just real. I totally get that. So you couple that, and I'm just, as an example, rumored Spider-Man 2 is $300 million, right? And the development time was X amount, super long, 5-6 years. It's too long. Like, I remember a time, like, ironically, today is Bungie Day. Halo 2 came out in 2004. Halo 3 came out in 2007. That was 3 years for two big major AAA titles, right? In a franchise. We don't see that anymore. You don't get that anymore. That's part of the problem. The budgets are too high. The time to make them are too long. Again, this is why Everwild got canceled. This is why Perfect Dark got canceled. It's taking too long for them to come out. I will fully admit, and I'm not saying this in a negative because I want to play it and I want it to come out. Where's Wolverine? We have not seen Wolverine other than leaks since 2020. That's another example of a big game that's taking a very long time to come out. And what is the budget on that? I'm sure it's pretty freaking high, Even bringing it back to Xbox, Fable, hey, knock on wood, allegedly we're getting it next year. But they showed that again, 6 years. By the time it comes out, it'll have been 6 years. It's too long for these AAA games. That's part of the problem as well. Add in the fact of the free-to-play stuff, and where you just have these 1%er free-to-play games that monopolize all the time and all the engagement from people that want to play games. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense, what I'm saying, because I feel like I just ramble sometimes. But what else do we have here? And oh, wow. Goddamn, there's a lot of people here. I appreciate it. Yeah, please, in the chat, everything, commenting, I truly appreciate it. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. It was just, I just wanted to talk about this because I've just seen a lot of the comments online, and even though I felt I addressed it, on the first day, I kind of wanted to reflect on it now that there's been some time and look back at these layoffs and the impact that it's going to have on the industry and the work that honestly Xbox and Microsoft is going to have to do as a result, because you're canceling games, you're closing studios. I can't imagine what the morale is right now internally. I got a little bit of an idea, but you get my point. The morale cannot be great right now. You got people with a head on a swivel. Am I next? Is it done? What's going to happen? Is my project going to get canceled? You know what I mean? What about my mortgage? The kids' tuition, like all these things you got to start thinking of that you didn't think you have to think of, but you do as a result of this. So they got work to do to rebuild trust in the community, morale with their workforce, and just honestly make us as a consumer feel good that these games are still going to come out. They're going to come out in quality. They're going to come out at time. And if you're going to continue to give me this service of Game Pass, it is still going to be of value to me. And if it's not, it needs to go away. I mean, that's just the truth. So we'll see. And good to see you, Miles. Yeah, Miles, and you're in game dev now, so you know exactly what I mean. And it's like, yeah, I have personal relationships with people that were affected by this, and it freaking sucks. Like one of them I have known for 20 years, and I'm talking even before he got into game dev. I've known him. That's how long I know him. That's how I'm saying it's that type of friendship. And when he messaged me and told me that he was affected by the layoffs, it was like I had no words. I was crushed. I was instantly angry over it, because this person does great work at what they do. And to see that wasn't valued, and to see that how cold-blooded these layoffs were, because they weren't performance-based. It was just numbers thing. All right, you got to hit a percentage. We got to meet this. These people are gone. It sucks. It just does. And I will say this too, because, I've definitely heard and seen some of the passive aggressive comments towards myself and a few others that have shown real empathy towards these layoffs and to the people affected. And they're trying to say that was virtue signaling or whatever. It's like, you can truly kiss my black ass. I can tell you that right now, because sorry that I care. Sorry that bothers you, that I actually care about other people. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I get laid off, I want people to care. So that's a you problem, not a me problem. I will always, just like when Firewalk closed and Concord went away, go dig up the tweets. Basically the same thing that I said last week, I was saying then. And Ben Studio, when they laid off people, I was saying it then. When the EA layoffs were happening for BioWare, I was saying it then. It's like, it's a bummer to see that people try to weaponize other people's misery, other people's pain, because they want to win some fictional console war or whatever nonsense that it is, because I'd even said to one person that I know, they were doing their little silly meme when the layoffs were coming out about, what's going to happen today with Laughing Face. And I was like, no, fam, this ain't it, man. This is not the day to be doing that. Save your console war nonsense for another day. Real people are going to be affected by this. Real people are going to lose their jobs. Not in your pretend online world where you get to laugh and joke. You know what I mean? So yeah, that truly annoyed me when I saw some of that stuff, and those people know who they are. And Christian with a $5 super chat. Appreciate that. And you were saying, hi, Paris, I'm a bit of a hater of the new Xbox MS direction. I feel that not only the AI thing is to blame, but Game Pass also. Greetings. Well, I just talked about Game Pass, so I don't want to necessarily repeat all of that, but I do appreciate you coming on. And we're at a point of we just have to question it, because there's conflicting opinions on it. Some devs say it's great. Some devs say it's terrible. Obviously, with these layoffs happening, the people that are saying it's terrible is going to be more heightened right now. You're seeing articles being written, stuff like that. As far as the Xbox MS direction. So here's what I say. I see what they're trying to do. And I think in this new world for them of multi-platform, having basically an open platform, it makes a lot of sense for what they're doing. Because they've essentially told you with this is an Xbox, they don't care if you buy an Xbox. They just care that you buy their games. If you don't want an Xbox, we will bring the games to you. If you don't want to buy an Xbox game from the Xbox store, we'll bring it to your favorite digital store. That's what they're doing. ultimately. Yes, they're still going to provide a console. It is probably going to be a variant of Windows, right? So that's how you're going to play all the Steam games, Epic Store games, all that stuff. I got to go hands on with the Xbox Ally X and kind of get a preview of what it's going to be like to have Windows on the handheld, the improvements, the UI improvements. So I see what they're doing. But like I said before, man, they got to execute on it. Because if you don't execute on it, all this talk is meaningless. Talk is great. Results is what you need. So they got to deliver on it. Let's see how it plays out. Because here's the thing. Nobody knows if it's going to work or not until they actually do it. Until I have an Xbox console that sits under my television that I can bring up the Steam store and play games that I have bought on Steam on that Xbox. Let's see how it works out. But until that happens, I don't know if that's something that I want to invest in or consumers are going to want to invest in until it's a reality, until it's tangible. We have it in our hands. I got a feeling that's what's coming next year. But who knows? At this point, who the frick knows? We will see. And let me see. Do you know what a $5 super? And I appreciate the previous super chat. I'm just reading this one here. So do you know what a $5 super chat? I had a guy say to me, if Game Pass is so great, why isn't GTA 6 going to be on it? If your game is guaranteed multi-million sales, Game Pass probably isn't for it. And that's what I mean. Third parties, obviously Game Pass's major driver is first party content day and date. The third party partnerships that they do, the ones that you get day and date, like Expedition 33, great. Typically, I don't expect third party games to be their day and date. They're going to come later. Obviously, indie titles, the deals that they make or whatever. Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar, Take-Two would be insane to put their game in a subscription service day and date. They've obviously done it. We've seen that eventually Grand Theft Auto 5 has been in Game Pass. I believe it's been on PlayStation Plus as well. But at launch, they'd be crazy to do that. Now, again, talk about a studio with allegedly $1 billion budget. And I mean, that game has been in development, probably 10 plus years. But to the point of what you're saying, they're going to make so much freaking money. Grand Theft Auto is an event. It is the one game that will outsell Call of Duty every year when it comes out, right? And probably by a factor of 2, which is crazy. They're going to make so much money on it. Not to mention, this is why it's going to come to consoles first, because they're going to create FOMO and then have it come to PC later. You see what I'm saying? So that almost doesn't count in the conversation, because Grand Theft Auto is such an anomaly as far as gaming goes that they get to stand on their own. I hope that makes sense of what I'm saying. If I need to follow it more, let me know. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, and that was the other thing. Wait, I thought I had water. I don't have water. Crap. Excuse me. Thought I had water here. But that's the other thing. The price. Obviously, we've seen the prices of these games explode as well, which I'm going to bring this back to the Game Pass thing when we talk about price. But $80 is the new norm now. And if Grand Theft Auto 6 was $100, as a person was saying in the chat, it's still going to sell. Because it's Grand Theft Auto 6. It is one of the few games that could get away with that. So I am bracing for impact next year when they announce the price for it, because it literally could be anywhere between $80 to $100. Really could. And no one should be shocked when that happens. I guarantee it won't be 70. I know that. Damn sure it won't be 60. It'll at least be 80, leaning towards 90. Wouldn't be shocked if it's 100. That's kind of where I am. And I'm going to get back to your super chats in just a second. Appreciate this. But the point I was going to bring up with price and Game Pass, obviously Xbox has already announced Outer Worlds 2 is going to be $80. Basically everything moving forward past that is going to be $80. Call of Duty is going to be $80, all of that. But that's also makes me wonder, are they embracing the higher price because it will push you towards subscribing to Game Pass for their games? Right? You have to ask that question again. Right? Because this is what I'm saying again. Phil Spencer said one thing about $70 games not being good, but then now this is 80. And I get the tariffs and there's all these other reasons or whatever, but are they using that as a reason to push you towards subscribing to Game Pass because you get more value out of their games if you subscribe versus just buy them outright? Could be. I don't know. But I tell you this, you charge me $80 for games, they better be good. That's the one thing about these prices of games going up. I'm going to be way more picky about what I purchase at $80 than I would have been a few years ago at 60, because I'm like, damn, that's a lot of money, right? So again, a Grand Theft Auto is going to be a no-brainer. So if you love Call of Duty, you're going to go buy it. You're going to buy Madden. You're going to buy NBA, because these are just games that you always play. But the new IPs, the things that you're not sure about, you're going to be a lot more skeptical of them. And you're probably going to go, I don't need to get it at launch. I'll wait till it goes on sale. You're going to see a lot of that too, in my opinion. Now, let me jump back to these super chats here, because I don't want to miss all of this. And Dayreezy, what a $5 super chat. I appreciate that, brother. You were saying, good afternoon, Paris and chat. I'm bummed about Perfect Dark and Everwild. I love the N64 Perfect Dark and GoldenEye. It is what it is, though. I love them too. Trust me, I was super excited in 2020 at the Game Awards when they announced they were making a Perfect Dark. I was like, hell yeah, because Perfect Dark Zero obviously was a rush. Like, if you go look at the history of Perfect Dark Zero, it is one of the few games that ever got printed to disc before it was certified. Go look it up, because they were rushing to make sure they got it at launch for the 360. But anyways, that game was a huge disappointment. And I was like, Joanna Dark deserves better. So the fact that we're actually going to get Joanna Dark, we're going to get Perfect Dark, I was super excited for that. I loved it on the N64. And as I was saying before, Dayreezy, I mean, it really just comes down to this. The initiative as a studio was a mess. It was mismanaged, and they could never get it right. The partnership clearly with Crystal Dynamics didn't work enough that the timetable for that game to come out, it obviously wasn't coming next year, or they wouldn't have canceled the game. It probably was still a few years out. And with these cuts, they deemed that to be unacceptable. The initiative had never launched a game before, so the studio closes and the game goes away. And Jimmy Mack with a $5 super chat. Appreciate that. And you were saying, let Xbox cancel Game Pass. Fortnite will still be there eating your lunch. To the point we were just talking about before. Yeah, even if Game Pass went away, free-to-play games like Fortnite are still there, consuming all your time and all your money through their Battle Pass. Though I'm going to tell you now, my youngest daughter, always between that and Roblox with her, that's all she cares about. Ooh, I need $5 for this. I need $5 for that, right? So again, those games are a problem. And then when you think of a game like an Arc Raiders that's about to come out, it's not free to play. You're going to pay $40 for it, but along the same vein. And I love playing that beta. So if Arc Raiders gets its hooks in me, I'm worried about now I'm playing, and now I'm not playing other stuff. That's part of the problem. And obviously the same went with Destiny, Division, and all that too. And what do we got here? Lewis Merritt with a £5 super chat. Appreciate that. And you were saying, sadly, I can no longer support Xbox. They continue their never ending. Is it abolition? Oh my God, I can't read. Yeah, abolition of developers and studios ended my Game Pass sub, won't buy from their store. And as a consumer, that is on 100% your right to do so, because clearly some of the decisions and the choices they've made over the past few years is ultimately going to upset people, right? Canceling games, things like that. I get it. Raising prices on all that. It's not good. It's definitely not good. So I can all I can say is I can respect your decision on that. Now, am I personally going to follow suit? No, I'm not. And it isn't just, oh, you're a content creator and oh, you do this with Xbox. Again, I'm talking to you right now as just me, Paris, the dad, and the consumer. As a consumer, all this sucks. Don't get me wrong. But I've seen enough content come from them that there's still games that I want to play. I already own my Xbox, so I wouldn't get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like I said, in my house, Game Pass gets used every day. So there's still value there for me. But I will say this, going into the next generation of gaming, if we're having this conversation a year from now, something's definitely wrong over there, 100%. There's no way they can be in their 25th anniversary year, which should be a celebration, and we're still talking layoffs. We're still talking studio closures. We're still talking canceled games. Raising that's an issue. Next year for them should be about Forza Horizon, because we damn sure know it ain't Forza Motorsport. Should be about Forza Horizon 6, Gears of War E-Day, Fable, and whatever this Halo thing is going to be, and probably their next gen hardware. That's what we should be talking about, and not this awful news that we have no choice but to talk about right now, because it's relevant and it is affecting the industry. Just is. So again, I appreciate the super chat. And let's see, Corkstein with a $10 super chat. It was great to meet you in person, sir. So solid points, Paris. Thanks for always giving a grounded view on gaming news and not falling into the performative anger most due for engagement. Just sending a super chat. And I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm just giving my opinion on all of it, right? You know, I've been around long enough to see how things have changed over the past few years that, you know, what I may have thought 5 years ago is quickly evolving here now in 2025 and beyond. Because, you know, it was funny because I even looked up the tweet. I had put out a tweet, I think it was the beginning of 2024. This was before the business update. And this was when I think the rumors about Hi-Fi Rush and all that, you know, going to other platforms. And I said the business of gaming is changing. I said it then, and people were losing their minds that I said that. And it's pretty evident the business of gaming is changing. It just is. And in that sense, it's not just an Xbox thing. It's industry wide. You're seeing issues across the board, layoffs across the board, canceled games across the board, studio closures across the board. Now that, like I said, we're talking about Xbox. That's why I've been specific about Xbox, but other studios and publishers are not immune to this. I mean, you know, if you do want to bring in the EA of things, the Ubisoft of things, the PlayStation of things, they're having issues. Nintendo, even though thankfully they've not been laying off people, hey, what did they just talk about? We got to reduce our development time, which brings down costs, gets games out quicker. You got to do that. And that's another thing with the long development times. And this is where Concord comes into play as an example. The idea of Concord probably made sense in 2018, but then 6 years later, it didn't anymore. But maybe it would have in 2020 or 2021 if you had what used to be the standard development time of 2 to 3, maybe 4 years max, right? So you also got to think of that too. Again, with these long development times, like the Elder Scrolls 6, how long ago did they announce that game? And we ain't getting that game, never anytime soon. You know what I mean? I don't expect Elder Scrolls 6 to probably 2030 at this point. With all the success that the Fallout TV show has had, and yes, you have Fallout 76 and you're able to put content out that way, why the hell have we not had a Fallout 5 announcement? Because you would think, even if you didn't anticipate Fallout being the hit that it was, there should have been an announcement right after that. We have an active development Fallout 5. And you can expect it, blah, 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 2027 or something like that, right? That's how it used to be. Not anymore, because it just takes so long to make these games now. And they got to figure that out. And God forbid I don't want it to be AI. I do not. I know it's going to play a factor in it. It just is. But don't take jobs from people, because that, as we already know, sucks. So we'll see. But I appreciate the super chat. And what else do we have here? Sorry, I'm just catching up on the chat because I know I've been pretty ranty here. I'm just trying to see what everybody's been saying. And I'm seeing Disney World Vacationer. I love that name. I was an original Xbox purchaser for Halo back in the day. 360 was awesome with Gears and Halo 3. I've been waiting for Halo to return to its glory days, but Microsoft hasn't persuaded me to return. Again, fair. If you watched XCast back in the 2021 era, what did I say about, and I remember people got so grumpy with me about this too. What did I say about Halo Infinite before it came out? I said it cannot be okay. It must be great. Halo is the flagship. I don't care if you think it's still relevant or not. There is no Xbox without Halo. If Combat Evolved did not hit in November of 2001, we're not talking about Xbox right now in 2025. Just not. So I don't disagree with you at all when it comes to that. Halo Infinite, I enjoyed the campaign. The multiplayer right now is pretty darn good, but that was not the case when it launched in 2021. And that's the problem. The multiplayer launched okay. Obviously they did that whole beta thing, you know, on the 20th anniversary, but you didn't have the content, the modes and everything ready to go. Forge, all that. Remember, they launched it weird. They didn't have the campaign co-op, none of that stuff, right? And it hurt the game and it hurt the brand, right? And obviously, to the point, you had to rebrand the studio. Now, I hope 2026, let's just assume it's some kind of Halo Combat Evolved remaster or something like that on Unreal 5. Let me get that feeling again of Halo. Announce whatever the next Halo is going to be beyond that. Get me invested and excited about that universe again. It's so funny. Just today, because it's Bungie Day, I rewatched the opening to Halo 3. And you want to know why? Because of Cortana's monologue and how that impacted me emotionally, because I care. I care about those characters. I care about Cortana. I care about John 117 and their relationship and their dynamic and the sacrifice that she made at the end of Halo 2 leading into Halo 3. And then him, because when he comes back online and he's holding the chip and it's empty, and Sergeant Johnson asks him, where is Cortana? And she stayed behind, and you knew he was not going to leave her behind. And then when they reunite later in the game, that's why I've always cared about Halo. Yes, the multiplayer is great, the LAN parties, the fun with the friends and all that, but it was that rare campaign story and characters that you connected with and you cared about. Just did, and I want that again. Halo Infinite didn't do that. And again, I don't want the weapon, all that, whatever you want to think. I want, and I said this back then, Halo has always been about Master Chief and Cortana, and I want it to be about that again. Bring back Sergeant Johnson, do whatever you got to do. If you got to kind of retell, some of the early story, whatever. But that's what they need to do to get back to Halo, in my personal opinion. But that's just me. Let's see. And Disney World. Okay. And you're also saying if Halo comes to other consoles, I have very few reasons to ever return to Xbox. I'm a Switch to PS5 gamer now, but I will be back to Xbox if Halo is there exclusive. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Halo will not be exclusive to the Xbox console. So get ready to play it on the PS5 would be my thing. It's happening. Gears is already there. I played Gears of War on a PlayStation. Freaking weird. Forza Horizon 5 is there. Halo will be there. Whatever this next Halo thing is, it will be there on the PlayStation 5. So I totally get what you're saying. Respect it again. And basically, Xbox has already told you that's okay with them. If you don't want to go buy their next console and you're good on the PlayStation 5, here's Halo. We just brought it to you. That's what they're doing. Wait a minute. And then Red Misfit, Paris, I know you were a big Cyberpunk fan. What? Oh, it cut off. I'm going to assume you were talking about Edge Runners 2 coming out. Yes, I'm very excited for that, and I cannot wait. Edge Runners, ironic enough, in my personal opinion, saved Cyberpunk 2077 because, yes, they had to fix the game. And not only them fixing the game from a technical standpoint, Edge Runners reinvigorated Night City and get you back into those characters. And the fact that things that you saw in Edge Runners, you could go to in the game. It brought people back. The numbers just prove it. And you fixed the game at the same time. Then you followed that up with Phantom Liberty, which was a fantastic experience. And now everybody's super excited about Cyberpunk again. See, I should have been sitting in the chair. I keep the chair right there. I sit in this chair because it's just way more comfortable, but I will never get rid of that Cyberpunk chair just for all the memes and the jokes. The fact that the official Cyberpunk account even freaking trolled me about that chair, I love it. Absolutely love it. But I hope that's what you were saying because I didn't see a follow-up to it. And what else do we have here? CBA Joestar. I should stop trying to pronounce all these names. But you're saying people need to stop using the Xbox that's still suffering from the failure of the Xbox One. Sony bounced back massively from the PS3 and Nintendo bounced back from the Wii U. I don't disagree. I know I definitely don't say that about, it's because of the Xbox One. Now, the one thing that Phil Spencer did say when we interviewed him on XCast, and that is valid, true, what he said. They lost the most important generation, which was the previous generation with digital libraries, because that's where people started to invest in their digital games, right? And once you've already invested in a digital library, it's going to be very hard to get people to abandon that library and jump over to another, which I do think has spurred some of their business changes, because I do think they realized in this generation, we're not going to get people. If people are already invested in PlayStation, they're not leaving that PlayStation library. We might as well bring the games over there. I do think that's a part of it. I do. I may not 100% agree with that strategy, but I can understand it, I guess is my point. And what else do we have? Nothing wrong with a little jiggle. Oh yeah, Halo 4 Cortana. And look, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not wrong because it's my opinion, so of course I'm not wrong. I liked Halo 4. I didn't like the multiplayer, but I liked the Halo 4 campaign. And I like the continuation of Master Chief and Cortana's relationship in that. It's funny when I think about all the Halo 2 campaigns, the only one that I just really do not like is Halo 5. Did not like that one at all. The rest of them, obviously Combat Evolved kicked it off well. Halo 2 with the Arbiter I thought was really good because you got the Covenant's perspective on everything, which I thought was fantastic. Obviously, what I just talked about with Halo 3, about Halo 4 stuff was solid. I'm not necessarily a big Forerunners fan, but I thought it was fine. But yeah, 5 I just felt I did not like the choices and the marketing was deceiving in it. It made you seem like, oh, Chief is going to be a villain, like the whole thing. I don't even want to dive back into it. And obviously Reach, I love Reach as well. And I thought Infinite was fine. I mean, it could have been better, but I thought it was fine for what it was. Yeah, Bloodshot. Yeah, Edge Runners bought CDPR, the Goodwill. Too bad Halo couldn't do the same. See, this is where I was, again, talking about the Fallout thing. Like, clearly, the Fallout TV show got people excited about Fallout again. That's evident. Season 2 is coming out later this year. I would imagine, because when I interviewed the creative director for Fallout 76 during Summer Game Fest, he dropped a nugget that the biggest update for Fallout 76 is coming at the end of this year. I think it has something to do with season 2 of the TV show. It just makes sense, right? But they dropped the ball with the Halo TV show, no doubt about it. It was like season 1 was not good. Season 2 was better, but still some of the choices that you made, I just did not agree with. And it was like, it wasn't Halo anymore. It was this weird variant featuring names of characters that we knew, but they weren't true to the characters that we had played in the games or even read in the books, right? So yeah, it just didn't work. Whereas the Fallout TV show, that was Fallout. I go, yeah, because I remember I got to see it early. And I'm like, damn, this is Fallout. This is the world of Fallout. This is why you log Fallout. They, Jonathan Nolan and that team did a fantastic job with it. So I expect nothing. And obviously, you look at the cast that they had, they knocked it out of the park. But yeah, I'm very excited for season 2 of Fallout. And they had that opportunity with Halo and they just did not capitalize on it, because if that TV show if it was what it should have been, everybody's running back to go play Halo. Everybody's super excited about Halo. It, as you said, it would have bought them goodwill. And that's what Cyberpunk Edge Runners did for CD Projekt Red. After all the issues they had at launch, all the shit that, they had to take with launching such a buggy game, it bought them goodwill and time to fix the game. And then to follow it up with Phantom Liberty, that so much so, people are going to be excited when the sequel comes out, the Cyberpunk 2. Or whatever they're going to call it, Cyberpunk 2078 or whatever, right? So that's what great, what's the word I'm looking for? But media outside of the game can do for a game, or vice versa. If you have a great game that ties into some other media, they're symbiotic in that way, and they can synergize and they can bring in an audience that wasn't even paying attention to the other thing. Like, oh wait, there's a game too. Oh, maybe I should go check that out. Or, oh wait, they got a TV show for this game that I'm liking. Oh man, let me go check out the TV show. You know what I mean? So that's how I see it. And what else do we have here? Wow, man, it's 300 people here. That's crazy. That is crazy for me just flapping my lips on here about stuff. But how long have I been on here? Yeah, actually, we're coming up on an hour. I wanted to do like an hour. So if you got any other quick questions or anything, please just shoot them in now, and I'll start wrapping this up in a few minutes. But I appreciate you all hanging out, man. Like I said, I want to be more consistent on the channel. Like it's crazy since I stopped being lazy and actually start putting content on the channel again. The amount of new subscribers and the views and stuff have gone up dramatically. I'm pushing for 30. I want to hit 30,000 by the end of the summer if I can. I know that might be a little aggressive, but with just some of the content I have planned over the next few weeks. Like I said, I want to do more of these live streams. I was experimenting with it earlier today. I want to do more just live gameplay of stuff as well. I was going to blow people's minds and just play Spider-Man 2 on PC with the DualSense controller. And I was testing that out earlier. And then, I'll play like Cyberpunk, and like I've been playing Planet of Lana and just stuff like that. Just games that interest me right now. Obviously stuff I'm reviewing, I can't play on a live stream. But I just want to do more of that stuff, and then, have reviews, interview stuff on here. Like I've done unboxings, like, I did with the MetaQuest 3S, the Xbox edition, stuff like that. And a Red Misfit. Oh, wait, before I answer that, Red Misfit, Beyond the Grave, when are you streaming for consistency? I guess that's what I was just talking about. I'm trying to be more consistent. I don't know what the schedule is going to look like. Right now, it's just, hey, I didn't have anything going on work-wise this afternoon, so I'm streaming. But I'm hopeful to get to that cadence where I'm like, yo, every Wednesday at, 1 p.m., I'm streaming, right? Or Saturday or Sunday or whatever, but we'll see. But going back to Red Misfit, $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Hey, Paris. Thanks so much for getting back to me when I told you about my mom. I'm still processing everything, and it's been tough. How did you manage to move past your loss and deal with it? I have not moved past it. I was just talking about my mom the other day, and she passed away in 2020. You move on, but you never forget. You never truly get past it. And not to dive too much into my personal, but my mother passed away from cancer in 2020. During the pandemic, and it was tough. It was tough. Me being out here in California, her being in Florida, I had to go back. She was in a hospital. They had weird rules, so I couldn't go in then, and then just all of that. But anyways, point I'm trying to make is, like, I remember having a dream, like I was just, me and my mom were just talking about random stuff, and then you wake up and it's just like, oh, you know what I mean? Or little things will happen and you're like, oh, so time heals. You will get the ability to move on from it, but you won't forget. It's your mom. It's your mom. Of course, you'll never forget, and she'll always be with you in that way. I hope I'm explaining that well, but totally feel you. And again, I appreciate the super chat. I really do. And Dayreezy with a $5 super chat. You were saying, how did they mess up something with a vast lore already? That Halo show was horrendous. Fallout show was exactly how a video game adaptation should be. 100%. And that was the whole point I was making. Jonathan Nolan and that team got it right. They stayed faithful. And obviously I know Todd Howard was involved in it as well. And my dog is barking because the FedEx guy's here. Oh my God. He's going to keep barking. But yeah, they got it right, and they did their thing. It stayed faithful to what made Fallout, whereas the Halo show did not. Because if I remember correctly, even with the Fallout show, not the Fallout show, see, the dog barking distracted me. With the Halo show, that team, they didn't even like play the game or read some of the source material. It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. And I was never on board with Master Chief taking off his helmet. Just wasn't. I get, you got a known actor and the whole thing. You want to show his face, but maybe just get an unknown actor that'd be okay with not showing his face, because that was part of it too. I think you don't show Master Chief's face until the series finale, but that's just me. So, but I appreciate it. And Yomero, and what time we got here? Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here. So I'll read a couple more and I'm going to get out of here. So Yomero is saying, Paris, don't you think there is something rotten in the established AAA studios that can no longer make a game on budget and on time? There's something, but see, it's not every studio. Look at Obsidian. Obsidian doesn't seem to have this problem. If anything, Obsidian like, look, here's 3 games this year. Here you go. So clearly, whatever's happening there, they got it down. What I would say is, and this isn't just Xbox, this goes, for any studio, maybe you reach out to an Obsidian or another studio that seems to be able to get their games out on time. And what are they doing? What is their structure? So reminds me, just speaking of CD Projekt Red, because when I was at DICE 2 years ago, they were there and they were giving a seminar talking about how they restructured their internal systems and their entire workflow and project management and everything as a result of the issues they had with Cyberpunk, so that they wouldn't run into those problems again. And it was a fascinating conversation to be able to sit in on, because it shows you how you get different teams to work together and to communicate and to co-collaborate and all that, and to turn things on time and to stay on schedule, right? And that's what it really comes down to. Because obviously, and again, I'm not a game developer, just going by my own history, in software development, stuff like that. But you have certain milestones. If you work with sprints or whatever, right? You'll have your 2-week sprints. There's certain things that you need to hit. You'll have your epics, all that. So, I mean, I don't know. Something, like I said, you have so many people working on a game that communication is the biggest thing. If I got a studio, random number, 300 people, that's a lot of goddamn people to make sure they're all working together as one and they're communicating together. And the issue this team is having doesn't affect the other team, or if it is, they're communicating over there, or I make this change doesn't break the progress. Like, there's all kind of stuff that goes into that. And trust me, I am not envious of the studio heads and the team leads that have to corral all this stuff, because that's part of the problem. Again, comes back to leadership and management on everything. You got to have the right people in place to understand the vision and what you're trying to deliver, to make sure that it gets delivered on time. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. And let me just read a couple more here. Actually, I'm going to end on this one because I meant to bring this up too. So saying Paris, Microsoft wants to be hands off, but needs to know when to step in. And course correct. 100% agree. And that is again, like, bring this full circle back to when they acquired like Activision and everything. Because you thought, hey, this could potentially be a good thing, because they're going to let the creative leads. Wow. Why is my dog barking so much? What is going on? Eesh. But you're going to let the creative leads, you're not going to micromanage them. You're not going to meddle. You're going to let them do their thing. And I think that has come back to bite them in certain instances. Pretty clear. Just Redfall as an example, right? Whereas you don't want to meddle, but then you need to find that balance of when you do need to meddle, right? And we'll see. This is what I'm saying again. This is why moving forward, they got to deliver. They got to figure this out, because that has clearly been part of the problem too. They've been too hands off when maybe they needed to be a little more handsy, with some of the process that was going on with game development. So again, I hope that makes sense too. Wait, what's this? No one is falling for it. Oh, all right, so, were people in the chat trying to get people to cancel Game Pass? Look, I'm going to say this as I wrap this up. You are the consumer. It is your money. You decide what is valuable to you. You get to make decisions. Don't let me or any other person tell you what you should buy or what you should cancel or whatever. And this just goes for gaming overall. If you love PlayStation, play on PlayStation, buy the games you want on there. It's Xbox, the ColecoVision, the TurboGrafx 16, wherever you like to play, whatever you like to play, that is up to you to decide, not any random dude on the internet telling you how you should spend your money. 100%. And I'll say this too, because somehow I get roped into this weirdo conversation. I've never been against exclusives. What I have been against it, because again, I'm just taking an example. If a publisher owns the IP and they have hardware, do what you want. It's your IP. You own it. So you get to decide where you want to put it, right? Third party is the only time I have an issue with exclusives. I think third parties should not be exclusive. There should be no money hat deal to keep a game away from another platform if you're a third party publisher. That's just me. That applies to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, all of them. If you're a third party publisher, put your games everywhere, make the most money off of it, let the most people be able to play it. That's just my opinion. I know some would disagree, but that's just me. So, and yeah, no money hatting games. Honestly, we're seeing that's going away anyways, because you're really not seeing companies like Crimson Desert, I guess, as an example. And they're like, nah, we're putting it everywhere. Obviously, Square has reversed their thoughts on it too. So, excuse me, I think we're going to see less and less any of these third party timed exclusive moving forward. So we'll see. And I think that's it. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And I appreciate everyone that has been hanging out in the stream. I appreciate all the super chats, more than generous of you to do. Like I said, I want to be more consistent with this. I want to do more live streams when I have time, when I can figure out what is a reasonable schedule to always, like, on this day at this time, here's a live stream. I will definitely let people know, and I will try and stick to that as much as I can. But until then, you're gonna get these random ones here. So the fact that I even get 300 plus people to come in a stream that just I start out of the blue is amazing. Everyone that's been, what are you supposed to say to YouTube? I always forget. So I need you to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, right? So everyone that's been doing that, I appreciate that too. Can continue to try and grow the channel here on my personal, YouTube channel. And this is fun. Obviously I like talking. I like giving my opinion, and I appreciate all the feedback that people give me in the chat. And I'm going to keep doing this. And I hope everyone has a good rest of the week. Who knows when I'll pop back up again, but I'm sure I'll be back on again at some point this week. So until then, you have a great day, have a great week, and I will talk to you again